Hello, and welcome to the third and final part of building the Haunted Mansion from Orlando, Florida. And I'm sorry I've been a bit late with bringing out these videos, but this is the final episode. I just want to get this out the way for your Christmas enjoyment because in a few days I'm heading to London and I won't be able to continue with my Planet Coaster projects until the 29th of December. Which is unfortunate because I'm getting rather addicted to creating stuff in Planet Coaster. In fact, I have lots of stuff that I want to upload and lots of live streams I want to make, but I cannot do that until after I come back. In the meantime, I will try my hardest to finish off the Haunted House Dark Ride that you can see on my channel. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my channel live streams and you can see me build a very extensive Haunted House Dark Ride that is very much in tune with the Haunted Mansion. It's not exactly the same, but it's very much in tune, and it only has one more room left to be completed, and I wanted to do that before I left in a few days and get all the episodes up and everything, which is a lot of rendering and a lot of this and a lot of that. So hopefully that will all be done and I can give you some little Christmas gifts, so to speak, for over the Christmas that you can watch whenever you want. So on with the Haunted Mansion, and right now I have pretty much finished off the tower, finished off the special dome church-like roof at the very top with the sort of copper colors. I mean I had to use the wooden planks, of course, just like with most things in this game. The wooden planks are the most useful for crafting shapes. In fact, this was made before the update, before it was released. This was actually a few months before it was released, and you can see a difference in the way some of the tools work and a difference with some of the available objects. In fact, there are far fewer objects available for this build than there would have been had I been making this today. Those include the winter update, which would have been incredibly useful in terms of things like Christmas decorations for making ornamental roofs and dressings on the roof and these kind of things. I had to make do with what I had before, and I think it turned out okay. But again, if this was created today, it would not be made necessarily with all the objects you see here. In fact, it might have been made in a completely different way. Well, for instance, the stones at the side of the buildings, like I don't know what those are called, but those side stone thingies. I mean, I used to know what they're called, but I keep forgetting these architectural terms, unfortunately. But those things would still be made out of that material. That's a very useful piece. That's exactly designed what it's meant to do, and that's not usually what I've been doing lately with my builds. I usually make things out of whatever I can that looks the part, but it's not necessarily in the game what it is. But with the side stones, they're incredibly useful because this building's quite large. I wish there were some smaller side stones. There aren't very many things you can use for side stones, so I've been using wooden corner planks and these kind of things. I would like a lot more selection for those things. In fact, this build is so old you can even see that I can't change to day or night. I have to stop the recording and then let the time flow until it's the right time of day, which is a very old feature that I do not miss. I'm really glad we can change the day-night cycle. That is one of the most useful aspects when it comes to building. If you want to build at nighttime or if you want to build at daytime, you don't want to have to wait about 5 minutes for the day-night cycle to go. Even on full speed, it can get a bit old after a while. So I'm glad they listened to us in that respect. I think they would have just given that to us anyway. So many good simulation games have this day-night cycle that's optional. I remember when the first day-night cycle came out for a simulation game that I remember that was really effective for my simulation games was SimCity 4. And I remember thinking that it was very cool when I first saw it. I was like, wow, they have skins for the lights coming on at night, and it goes from bright daylight to a sort of reddy color, then to dark. It looked really good, but I didn't ever play with the day-night cycle on. That's because it got way too dark at nighttime. In fact, so dark that it's impossible to see without severely hurting your eyes. In fact, I don't know if it damages your eyes, but it strains your eyes to work in the darkness, and it's not good to read or to concentrate on things that you need to create in absolute darkness. So it's very bad for the eyes, and it's very bad for detailing, and it's very, very bad to see that. So I remember thinking that the day and night cycle was more or less kind of somewhat useless in SimCity 4. Also due to the fact that there were many mods that came out that did not support the nighttime mode because no one really used it. So you'd want to check out your city at nighttime and you'd think, oh, that would look really cool at nighttime. You switch it to nighttime, but unfortunately the person who created the beautiful building you wanted to see at nighttime had not put lights on it, and it just looked like you had lots of abandoned skyscrapers in your city, which is never a good thing. It's never a good thing. And I'm digressing quite a lot, but that's a little story about my experiences with day-night cycles. Of course, The Sims has one that's less annoying because you can build, but when they released After Dark for City Skylines, I've never been able to keep the day-night cycle on because the nighttime is just way too dark. And at least with Planet Coaster, the nighttime is somewhat light, somewhat airy. You can sometimes get away with building in darkness in this game. It's just a brighter game in general. I've been having the absolute opposite problem right now with making my dark ride. In fact, I have it in nighttime so much because I have to work out how the light is hitting things, and when I turn to daytime, my eyes actually feel like I've gone into a bright room, like someone's turned the light on when I've been in darkness for about 4 hours, and then you know how that feels, and you're like, whoa, it's really too bright. And that's what this game has made me feel when I've been switching, because once you get used to the darkness, everything seems like how it should, which is not common for a sort of simulation game. Usually the nighttime isn't as well thought out, the lighting isn't as well thought out, and this game is really great for that. But now that I look through my dark ride in daytime, it just looks terrible. It doesn't make any sense in the daytime. It just looks wrong. Unfortunately, there's sort of no way to make a dark ride without turning either the night cycle on constantly during the ride, or you build it underground. And apparently underground, I know underground, it traps the light, especially when you're quite deep. But unfortunately, dark rides don't tend to be built too much underground. They tend to be built inside a building, inside a warehouse-like space. I doubt there will ever be a way to sort of make it dark inside the buildings based on how the darkness works in this game, the lighting works in this game. It's very good lighting, but I don't think it works 100% realistically, because sometimes when you're in pitch blackness you still see reflections on objects and rails, and that doesn't make any sense. But then again, it is a video game, and I'm digressing so much. I'm not talking about the Haunted Mansion, because what's going on with this build right now, I have moved it into place, done some sculpting, and tried to get the hill in which the Haunted Mansion is residing in the right way. I mean, the Haunted Mansion, this particular Haunted Mansion stands right on the top of a hill, overlooking, quite overpowering. It's quite a large hill, and you don't enter from the main entrance that you see. It's sort of just for show. In fact, it's quite a clever design, the Haunted Mansion. They decided to make it bigger, and they worked out a lot of the faults with the last Haunted Mansion they made in New Orleans Square. And the design doesn't only look very nice, but it also, both the sides, both towers contain each lift rooms, each elevator rooms, each foyers. I don't know what to call them. Stretch rooms, that's what they're called. I should know that, really. But they contain each stretch rooms, and there's 2 stretch rooms in the building to get the load going quicker, to get the ride loaded quicker. I think there are 2 in the one in Anaheim too, and there's also 2 in Phantom Manor. But this one was actually designed based on that, making sure that the stretch elevators are all concealed behind some architecture, and the shape of the building reflects that. And I think it's quite a nice little way of designing. It looks pretty cool, and I generally like the design. I mean, this design grew on me quite a lot. I never considered it my favorite Haunted Mansion by far, and it still probably isn't, but it definitely has its place and deserves love and admiration, because it also, a lot of effort and time was put into designing this particular ride, and it's definitely higher quality than most Haunted House Dark rides out there. In fact, I can't really name that many Haunted House Dark rides besides the Haunted Mansion and some smaller ones from some smaller theme parks, but none of them are really as iconic. So if anyone actually knows of a Haunted House Dark ride that rivals in terms of quality to the Haunted Mansion, I would gladly like to hear about it, because I've been looking for some dark rides and nothing really comes in comparison. Although you do get some nice things. Like I was looking at the haunted house, or I looked for a haunted house ride in Efteling. I think I've just brutalized that name, but it's a Dutch theme park, which is sort of like the Dutch Disneyland. And I looked for their haunted house ride, and it wasn't so much a ride. It didn't have a track, but it was a sort of show, a sort of effects come on and you're watching through a window, and I quite like that. I quite like that you could sort of make it. It was quite high quality, but it wasn't a ride. You weren't on a track, but the effects were very good, and that's what I tend to be looking at. It has to have expensive, good effects. I'm not so much thinking of ghost trains or things at a fun fair with cardboard cutout things that pop out and go woo. No. That's not what I'm looking for when I'm looking for dark rides, and there are not very many that I would say are such high quality. In fact, the highest quality dark ride that I can think of, that's probably higher quality than Haunted Mansion just because it's newer, is Mystic Manor, and that is a fantastic ride from what I can see. And when you look at on-rides online, it's so well lit that you can see all the effects great. You don't even have to ride it, you can just watch it on YouTube. It's it's great. When I'm trying to watch the Haunted Mansion on YouTube, it's so dark it doesn't look great. In fact, it's even worse for Phantom Manor. That's even darker dark ride. I think the most special thing about Mystic Manor, though, is not so much the effects, which are fantastic, but the track ride itself, which is it looks like magnetized. It's not got wheels or anything. It's just on this sort of magnet block, and it looks like it floats around and is controlled by robots or microchips or something. I don't know, but it looks very cool. And I'm really hoping they continue with flat rides in this game to an extent that we get something like the Mystic Manor rail, because then I could think of so many amazing things that I would do with that particular thing, with that particular track piece. But I don't know how much emphasis the game developers are actually going to be putting on dark rides. It's Planet Coaster, not Planet Dark Ride. But then again, it would be a missed opportunity because dark rides have very many of the same elements as roller coasters. They are, tracks and positioning triggers is also a thing you do on roller coasters, so they sort of work together. I'm still waiting for an Omnimover that turns in a direction you can choose, and that really can't be hard to design. But I'm not sure whether the developers are thinking in that sort of way because they're more focused on rides and roller coasters, but maybe they are thinking about that. In fact, I would like a sort of, animatronic DLC or something, animatronic dark ride DLC. I think everyone can agree that there is not nearly enough animatronics, and that's just due to the nature of animatronics being so fixed on a certain thing. If you're making a model of something moving, is it a cowboy or is it a spaceship, a space fighter? They are very specific and you can't really change that. So I would love a way that you could sort of customize sort of like mannequins, which you change their clothes, change their faces, something like a sort of Sims like level of control. I mean, you obviously can't put a lot of control to animatronics. You can't probably change a lot. There'll probably be a lot of restrictions, but at least have the ability to change, skin color, clothes color, hair color, and these kind of things to make them look a bit more like your own, and change heads maybe there because I have some set heads, so you could use more animatronics than just a set cowboy or just a set thingy, a set person. That is something that would be very much in the nature of the game because it's very much a sort of design tool. It very much loves the designers and it wants to be designed with. That's the way I see this game. So it couldn't be too hard to implement something like that. I mean, something similar to the Avatar creator, but a bit more in depth. And I don't know how expensive or difficult that is to do, and I can't imagine that coming for a very long time, if ever. But that is something I know a lot of people are looking for, and that is definitely something I'm looking for too. Because customization is something that makes this game so special, and not nearly enough of it is customizable. Not nearly enough. In fact, one thing that I was a bit taken aback by is the way that some of the rides are severely themed. In fact, you can only put this ride in this area because it's steampunk, and you can only put this ride in this area because it's fantasy. And I know that they've also released the same rides as generics, which is great. but I think if they spent less time on making themed rides and more time on making just rides that we can sort of add our own themes, or had several set themes that you could switch between, that would be something I think a lot more people would want. Maybe I'm wrong. Or an ability to change the cars on roller coasters. They are very much set. And the Dragon Run roller coaster, well, why can't we have a Ladybird car? Why can't we have something else with it? And why can't we, why can't you have just one thing? Like, we have 2 trains. Why couldn't we have one train station and then change the train depending on what, choose the train we want for the train station, so we don't have to delete the train station and build the train again if we want a different train, even though they're basically almost the same and run almost the same. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's sort of the approach that Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 had, that you change the cart from the station, and that's why they had what seemed like less roller coasters, but they had more carts and more customization. But it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to me. I'm just thinking of things that I've thought of while I've played this game, and I'm digressing quite a lot, so I will continue with what I'm doing now. And what I'm doing now is something that was a bit changed from the actual design of the Haunted Mansion, due to the fact that I could not get enough photos of this area. It's all covered, it's a queue area and it's all completely covered, and the entrances are sort of covered. I had to look at about 1,000 different holiday videos that people have posted on YouTube, just of the Haunted Mansion, of the queue area, because who would really look at that except someone wanting to design it? I don't know. There are lots of things I couldn't do, like there is a sort of graveyard scene with a graveyard music box, and I didn't have enough pictures to do that. It's this huge mausoleum-like area that you walk through before you enter the building, and I didn't have enough photos to work from. The whole area is covered by a canopy from above, and from inside it's very difficult to work out which angle you're looking at. So I decided that it wasn't worth it, it wasn't necessary, but if you know it yourself, you can probably fit it in somewhere. I just wanted to give off a reflection of what it sort of resembles. I couldn't do it 100% exact because of not enough references, but if I had, of course I would try that out. I mean, it was barely enough references for the Haunted Mansion as it is, because it's very much covered by trees. In fact, Tokyo Disney thankfully doesn't cover its Haunted Mansion by trees, making it much easier to recreate. Now this area is a sort of green queue ironwork that's predominant throughout the ride. I used less of it because I thought too much might have been overkill. So I used a bit less than what I should have, what should be there, but that was also just to sort of reaffirm the design and make sure that the design works. And it wouldn't work if there was too much. Sometimes some things that look really good in real life do not translate into digital form, and that can be not so great. So I don't think this doesn't even look like it's time lapsed. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe my brain's farting, but I have to check if my video is completely time lapsed, because it doesn't look like it at the moment. And on that note, I will leave it there, because I think I've talked about everything I more or less wanted to talk about. Gone on for about 20 minutes, and I think I just will leave you to enjoy the continuation of this build. It is just building pathways, building the area to the north right. The top right will have another entrance which will resemble the exit, and a sort of graveyard mausoleum area which I didn't have enough photos to make from, so it also doesn't look exactly 100% like, but this whole garden area was created as accurately as I possibly could. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for watching, and I will see you in the in the walkthrough of this building, and I will see you next in my next builds and my next live stream. So bye for now.
thanks for watching this video, and if you want to see more you can click in one of these boxes and it will lead you to more of my videos, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe, and if you... I don't know what else to say. Well, that's it. So yeah, enjoy.